Great. So yeah, with what's going on in the collective, we were wanting to discuss and have just an open dialogue on the theme of how do we each cultivate trust in our lives during chapters that are filled with uncertainty or chaos. And I'll put these questions in the chat so you can refer to them. But a couple different ways to frame that is us sharing if something feels potent for you or a memory comes up of a moment where in your own life you felt uncertainty or chaos and it felt overwhelming, and what that experience taught you about your own trust or lack of it. And then to kind of piggyback on top of that, in moments when things feel unpredictable, what helps you reconnect to a sense of inner trust and stability. So I will copy these into the chat and we can kind of just open dialogue, share, and I'm sure more ideas and thoughts will piggyback off of each other.
I will say off the bat that there are times, trust is kind of an interesting thing, because there are times when I feel like I need to dig down and I need to reach in something inside of myself so that I can really trust myself to have a new experience. But then there are other times where I very much need to get out of myself and I need to trust in something much bigger than who I am for me to have any type of hope or progress or forward motion. So it's interesting to me that trust sometimes is like such a self-reliance thing, and sometimes it's a selfless kind of thing too.
I was thinking in similar terms, but I feel like for me, they're connected. The outside source is the depth of my own source too. And with so many big changes in CSC and now the insurance stuff and now Psychology Today and just so many things over the last couple, and menopause over the last couple of years, I've had no other option but to trust the unfolding. And, gosh, there's so much to say about this subject matter. I think I've done a number of practices over many years, meditation, and kind of looking at life as it's not always going to be roses. There's going to be different times, difficult times, and what can I harvest from those difficult times? And can I trust that some level of the experience, I will be okay. I will still land on my feet. I still have the support that I need. And so, yeah, it's kind of like circling back around, weaving into that again and again and again. It's like, oh no, Pacific Source is leaving. Crazy chaos. What am I going to do? This is a terrible thing for the business and everything like that. And then it's like coming back down into my center and also looking at like from that outside perspective, like you were speaking of, Brenton, like how can I, in some ways, how can I bring those together, my inner resource and my outer resource, like kind of sync them up in those times of chaos. That's what I'll say for now.
I like what you were talking about, Rochelle, about needing both, right? Something bigger and outside of us to trust, and that inner center. And I feel like I've been in that dance a lot too over the last years and the various challenges that life has brought me, mostly in forms of really difficult body experiences. But yeah, definitely within that have really developed this way to go inwards and to connect in with something that I can define in different ways, but it has a center, it has a calmness, it has a spaciousness, it has a loving frequency, and there's a way that I've learned to access that inwards. And I could, label it connecting with something like God or source or with my higher self. I think in reality, those things are all interrelated and layered on each other, and it doesn't even particularly matter, but it's that going inwards and finding the calm center that has really, really helped me navigate a whole bunch of challenges. But then additionally, with this last head injury, I was so physically debilitated that I couldn't even do that inner focus anymore. With the the degree of incapacitation that I experienced, and I was living by myself. And so then what I needed to do was reach out to community. It became very clear that this is not a self-reliant thing at this point. I really need help. It was a really big deal for me to do it, but I was also like at such a point of crisis that I was, willing to do it. And it was so beautiful how community showed up and what a difference that made. So I think knowing, at what point you need to reach out for help, and that knowing that that's okay, and developing comfort for doing that is a really big part of the dance with trust, especially as we go through really big collective destabilization and chaos.
Everything you said resonated so strongly, because when I've been in moments of overwhelming chaos, I feel so alone, and my mind tells me I'm alone. And part of my own pathology is I get stuck in my head and disconnected from my body. And being able to surrender was a word that I really took on last year as I moved across country, and then all the collective started suffering more, and I'm very empathic, so it started just to feel heavy and heavy as my life was expanding in a way that I've always wanted. So moving from the head knowledge center to the heart knowledge center to the gut, and just these areas of my body that have always been my support, and asking them for help, and also people outside for help as well. It was a lesson I really had to learn, that I do not need to suffer alone. And my hope comes from meeting with other people, from talking to source or divine, going out and sitting with my back against a tree. There's been so many things that are just like, motherhood of Mount Hood has me, the stream is going to nourish me. And yes, this is happening. So very dialectical thinking has helped me too. I'm like, yes, and that's been a lot of me this past month. Yes, and just reminding myself of speak to resilience. Humans have always been resilient, and we've managed really terrible things that we didn't deserve, and we've always come out. And so it's keeping that hope alive when it's really hard. And I tend to do a little motion with my hands. I just squeeze them and then release and say surrender. I do that often when I'm really caught in anxiety and twirling. And so thank you for sharing that.
I'm loving these conversations because it's reminding me little sayings and things that have gotten me through times of uncertainty. And I want to share two of them. One of them is someone in a group therapy practice, their go-to statement to give us all moments of encouragement was that each one of us in this virtual space and people listening have a 100% success rate of getting through everything they've experienced in life. And I think sometimes we forget that, and I'm speaking from my own experience. I feel like I look at problems and I forget all of the things that I have overcome and all of the tools I have learned. So I just wanted to share that little nugget. And then also another dear friend has shared with me in moments where I've faced uncertainty. For an example, I had a job that had a contract of 6 months, and then they would tell us whether we were continuing it. And it was during a time in life where I really needed the financial stability, and they decided to not continue it. And in the present, looking back, that's exactly what I needed. But in the moment, it felt really scary. And my friend shared with me that Spirit always only has 3 answers for us in response to our questions. Yes, not yet, and something even better is coming. And I think, that saying has gotten me through a lot of moments where I haven't seen why it's happening. I'm in the mystery and in the question, and I don't know why it's happening for me yet, but helps me shift the mental gears to remember that there's wisdom to things that we don't know in the now, and that they come later in the future. So just wanted to share those things.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Courtney. Can I add something? What I feel like is really profound is that when things are very challenging, we can always choose So sometimes when I'm finding myself like really stressed out, or I feel like I'm at this crossroads and I could choose my response, I'm like, okay, I could go this way, and I know which way this thought goes, or I know which way this reaction goes, or I can choose to see it like this. Like I can choose to see it as an opportunity. Like, do I choose to see this as like, oh, struggle, oh my gosh, my life is so hard, which is my family's legacy. Like they pass this legacy of belief on about life being hard. But if I look at things that way, then I tend to see it that way. And then my life begins to be colored that way. But if I look at it like, oh, like there's an opportunity here for me. This is really hard. Like, I don't know if I'm going to get out, but can I look at it differently? Is there a gift here? And what is that gift? And as we see that, we are breaking like generational chains. Like we are breaking them within ourselves, and constraints and contracts. You know, and then in that way, we're doing this really big healing, and it's rippling out. It's not just within our own very selves, but it's going through all of humanity. At least that's what I'd like to think, and that's what I feel. So it's beautiful to have that choice, and we have it in every single moment. I can go to my dirty dishes, and I can be like, dirty dishes again. Or I could be like, okay, this is here, but in 20 years, with my little boys growing up, are they going to be there? No. Like, can I see this as a gift or as a chore? And it's the same thing with anything. With the darkest places that humanity can go and that we ourselves can go through, we can choose how we grow through it and break old chains that were never ours to begin with, but were handed down to us. And we get to do that. That's an opportunity, and it's a gift, and it's a privilege. Okay. That's all I have to do. That's all I have to say about that.
I can feel my heart is like beating so loud right now. Just from all of the like lovely sentiments and the energy too. And I can feel it. That we say like, oh, Zoom is so like not personal, but it's so can be, you know, if we just tune in. I feel like just going through really deep, difficult life challenges for myself, losing my husband to brain cancer, and I'm gonna keep it together. But much to what, you know, you were referring to is like, I like so much was born out of that, and so much I was able to access out of that, that it was like, I don't look at, I mean, yes, it's a loss, but it was it opened up this whole like expansiveness to other people and community and healing and different ways to heal. And I feel like what's going on collectively, and even when I'm sitting with my own clients, like it's so heavy and everyone is like, God, what the hell's going on? Like, what are we going to do? This is happening, that is happening. It's unfair, it's unjust. And those of us that are light workers, those of us that are healers are like coming together, and we're building our communities stronger. So out of a lot of this like torment and like heaviness, there is the other side of it, you know, and that feels like so resonant in me. So at times when I start to feel that sense of overwhelm, like, what am I going to do? I'm losing my practice. This is happening. I need money. I don't know why did all this happen? And then I remember that person that got me through to today, you know, and I reach back and I grab her and I bring her here with me. And, you know, I just feel like staying in that moment of knowing like we are stronger than those things. And there's always something of value that comes out of any of those life challenges, as I'm sitting here with all of you. So that's proof right there.
Thank you, Peggy. That was really, that resonated with me a lot. And it reminded me actually of the contraction and the expansion that happens with grief and loss and going through hard times. And even though it's situations we'd never choose to be in, and it's not the way we would choose to grow, it's here, and the expansion and the ripple effects that happen from that. And it actually connects me. I took a dance class yesterday, and one of the prompts was, in your movements and your freestyle, go between contracting and expanding. And I'm thinking about that because as we've been talking, a theme that I keep hearing is like really opening up new neural pathways and going in on neural pathways that enhance our trust, even in the moments of uncertainty. And for me, I do that a lot. When I start to feel the weight of the uncertainty, and I start to lose that trust that I feel within myself, or lose the trust in my community, their ability to help keep me buoyant during a hard time. When I lose that, it's a really good reminder that I'm in my head. And one of the ways that I can dip back down into understanding the trust within myself, and then deeper, the expansion that happens when you dig deeper, and the trust that you can find in people or in nature. And so I was just kind of making the connection with like, when I dip into my body, especially through like practices like yoga, that tends to be like, if I need to get out of my head and figure out where my trust lies again, and find that in myself, it's yoga or it's in nature. And I'm thinking about all the intersectionality we're talking about right now, and all the ways to kind of access that trust when we lose it in uncertain times. So all of you all speaking is bubbling up that insight for me too. And I'm like, oh yes, that's another way I can reestablish that trust when I'm feeling on rocky ground in my own uncertainty, or when I can share it with others when I'm feeling more grounded.
Thank you. And similar to Mackenzie, it's something that I've been struggling with in this current chapter, and just hearing each of your shares and authenticity from your hearts, even though we're doing this in a recorded way, it still feels so authentic. And little moments I've been like, oh, that was a good reminder for me as well. And like, I want to sit and journal about it. So I just want to say thank you for sharing and collaborating.
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, everybody. This came out of a conversation that Courtney and I were having a couple of weeks ago, and it's beautiful to see. And this is the power of community, and the power of this community in general, for us to kind of experience each other's resources, because I think it's exponential when we come together like this. And love that there were practices sprinkled in there. I was thinking about this contraction and expansion. When I'm feeling particularly contracted, I'm shut off from my own trust and shut off from the trust of the universe. And then I like to do practices like just sitting in nature and feeling the connection. It's like I'm instantly welcomed into nature. And I know that because bugs start crawling on me, and I'm like, oh, welcome home. So that's really beautiful. And then I only have to tend to that very moment. And for me, nature is really nourishing, to just be with the bird song or the breeze or just the next breath. That's really helpful for me to start to access that expanded state. And then also for me, floating in water. And I don't even have to float in water. I can just think about it, similar to what Emily was saying about that surrender. It's like I float in water, and it's like my boundary dissolves, and I start to expand into that trust state too. So just wanted to add those couple of pieces. Feeling a lot of gratitude for each of you and all of us coming together.